What was your best moment of revenge, viewer edition?
Revenge. A dish best served cold. I know. Revenge is not a great thing to seek out, at least, speaking from an old mental standpoint, it's better to get over things, let things go, forgive and forget, but sometimes it's so cathartic, and so heck, we asked you folks to share your stories of some good revenge. Story 1. I've got a story, one of the very first moments of bad buttness I ever experienced. It was the second grade, and me and my friend would play in the gravel at recess and make water canals. I live in an extremely rainy place. One day this bully, who was in grade 5, 2 years above us, came up to our little group and bullied my friend so badly she started crying and ran to the bathroom. We followed her to make sure she was okay physically. There had been some hair pulling, and once we returned, the bee and her crew had taken our spot in the gravel field. The rest of the day, I pondered how I could get my sweet, sweet revenge. I had a lot of anger issues back then. Then it hit me. She had been known for bragging about the food she got for lunch. She was upper class, after all, and she would often bring these jumbo chips to school. She was also notorious for stealing food. As luck would have it that day, she brought the chips. So I waited for just after lunch and picked up the crumpled bag that she had discarded on the floor. I then filled it up with the muddy water in the makeshift water canals and made it look like I was chewing something. Lo and behold, the a-hole shows up, leans down, and goes, "What you eatin'?" I responded, "Chips." She proceeded to look me up and down and then tried to take the bag. I asked her if she wanted them, and she looked at me like I had just offended her. I hold it by the rims of the bag. Somehow she didn't see what was inside, laugh my butt off, and she does the same. Then I let go, and by now she's just leaning over the bag, realizing what's in the bag, and I clap my hands on the bottom, sending a full-blown tsunami of muddy water straight at her. She ran away screaming and didn't come back. 4 months passed, and then on a sunny butt day, I'm approached by her and a playground monitor, and she said, "They splashed me." I just about started laughing. We're now both in the same high school, and I'm 100% sure she wants to kill me. Still worth it, though. The best revenge always includes a little giardia. I mean, to be fair, I do like a revenge that's kind of a setup where you're just like, look, I'm giving you a chance. If you're not a jerk, nothing bad happens to you. But if you decide to be a jerk, the bad thing's gonna happen. I mean, is any revenge ever justified? Maybe. But when you give them a choice like that, it's really hard to feel bad for them. Story 2. I had a math teacher freshman year who was very strict. He was nice, however, and I liked him, but I happened to have class with a bunch of preps and jocks who felt they were above a few algebra problems. I was sitting right next to one of the main troublemakers. I was tired, it was 9 a.m., and I was so over his outbursts to the teacher. When it was my turn to pass the stack of assignment papers his way, I leaned in and whispered, "B." He exploded. I was often the teacher's pet, so no one in the class believed that I called him any names, not even his buddies. He raised hell until the teacher sent him to the principal's office, and given his previous track record of disturbances, we didn't see him again for a while. It's always like people who are loud and obnoxious and would make fun of others who have the shortest fuse when you make fun of them. The people who go around and just everybody's they're calling them names and cussing and this and that. And you look at them and go, "You're a little poopy pants." Ugh, they just lose their mind. And I guess just folks, if you're younger, you're in high school or middle school or whatever, and you see those people who do that kind of stuff, just take a little solace in knowing how unbelievably insecure they actually are.
Story 3. This girl bullied my younger brother badly in elementary school, blaming him for things that she did and getting him in trouble. The teacher always believed her over my brother because the girl was this small and cute rich kid. Fast forward to this year, she's a freshman, so is my brother, and I'm a senior. And she's trying to join clubs and student organizations. For this to make sense, I have to explain that I'm heavily involved in extracurriculars and that I'm president/captain for a lot of clubs/my team. She shows up to audition for the school play and lo and behold is talking to some other girl about running into this kid that she hated and used to bully, but that she's now finds cute. Overhearing this, I chimed in, "Who are you talking about?" "My brother's name. Do you know him?" "I might be familiar." And with that, I turned around, went to the front of the room, quieted everyone down, and introduced myself. "Hi everyone, I'm same last name as brother, and I'm the president of the drama program as well as head director for this production." The look on her face was priceless. Needless to say, she didn't get cast. Nobody gets to F with my family. Story 4. This is about one of my teachers when she was younger. My teacher was born with one leg longer than the other, so naturally she walked funny for most of her childhood. From what I remember, she was the nerdy type as well and was always reserved, kept to herself, and fairly femininely underdeveloped. She at one point decided to ask one of the footballers out, and he said, "I would rather kiss a pile of dog crap." Going into high school over the summer, she had a huge change in physical appearance. Matured, learned makeup, figured out how to walk properly with her leg, and overall was, and still is, a beautiful bad A. So the same guy asked her out, and she said yes. On their date, when he leaned in to kiss her, from her purse, she pulled out a tinfoil-wrapped pile of dog crap she had picked up earlier that day and smashed it on his face. Needless to say, she won that night. Ms. Kirkley, I miss you dearly. You were always so heckin' awesome. I'm still jealous of your dating life.
Miss Kirkley, you're my hero, and I think that's wonderful. Because you know what? Is a dog poop in the face? I mean, I guess there are parasites, so that's... Let's ignore the health risks. Because you know what? That guy was an A-class jerk to say something like that to you, and that's revenge well deserved. Nah, I gotta give it to you there.
Story 5. So this isn't exactly a revenge story, but I find it satisfying. A brief explanation of the situation I was in at the time. I went to a private school during 6th grade. It was my first and last private school I've ever attended. I was 11 at the time. It was a good school, the teachers were nice, it was just too expensive for my parents to do another year there for me and my siblings after that. It was a type of school that had every grade from pre-K to 12th, so in spite of it being a small school, there were lots of students. Anyways, during the first semester and briefly into the second semester, there was this girl I didn't know, at least a grade or two younger than me, that apparently decided that she was going to pick on me for whatever reason. To this day, I still don't know why. It was just typical stuff at first, like poking me and running away, screaming at me and running away, attempting to steal my backpack on the bus, so I tolerated her for a time. It wasn't until this one day that after school let out that day, she kicked me in the crotch on the way to the bus that I realized that she had no intention of stopping. Oh, I wanted to get back at her for that, but how? I was taught not to hit girls from a young age, so in my mind that was out of the question, and I figured that she'd just play innocent if I told one of the teachers since no one else saw it. So I waited for an opportunity that would lean in my favor. Finally, the day later came when she and a friend of hers sat behind me and one of my friends from class on the bus on the way back from school. I guess that she thought it would be funny if she spat in my face, and she did so 4 times. I was constantly telling myself for the remainder of the bus ride that it wouldn't be worth it if I hit her, so I restrained myself until the stop came. Her stop didn't come until after mine, so she stayed seated while I, my friend, and several others got up to leave. When I got to the bus driver, I told him only that she spat in my face and my friend backed me up. The bus driver in turn asked for my name and assured me he'd let the parents know. Looking back, I assume at the time that he probably knew her family from the way he spoke, or that he at least knew how to reach them. No idea what happened after that, but from then on, the girl never bothered me again, nor would she even look at me on the off chance we crossed paths for the remainder of the school year. Thanks, Mr. Bus Driver.
I mean, I can't criticize this one. This revenge is just you going, hey, you know what? I'm not going to get back at you in any way. I'll let you keep digging your own grave, and I'm going to go and report you to an adult. And hey, you know what? In 6th grade, you know, when you're in elementary school age and stuff, I think that's a legitimate strategy. So, good on you. You definitely have the moral high ground on a few of us here in this video, but don't let it go to your head.
Story 6. I actually have a story of my own. There was this kid on my bus that would all make fun of me for the way I looked, the way I dressed. Sometimes he made fun of me just because I bought lunch from school. One day on the bus, he asked me, "What did you eat for lunch? That dog crap you always eat?" I responded with, "No, I actually had the milk your dad never came back with." Story 7. There was this kid named Ashton in the 6th grade that would constantly pick on people younger than him. He had a little brother about my age at the time that would call me Hen Wee Wee. My name is Henry. His name was Jackson. One time he came over to me and punched me in the stomach. I did the same at least 2 times harder. His friend started cheering him on and I broke his nose in cold blood. 1 surgery and a week in the hospital later, he was back. Ashton came up to me one day and screamed in my ear as loud as he could. I reported him and he was expelled from the 6th grade. No, he wasn't in middle school because our school still entered in 6th graders. A fun way I got back at him and his brother. Double combo. P.S. I never got suspended or expelled because many people had reported these jerks beforehand and it would be illogical to expel a student that had worn out the jerk more than 60 people had reported before. Story 8. My father and my aunt, his sister, had always been close. So close that they would walk into each other's apartments like they lived there. My aunt's first husband was physically abusive, but she would protect him anyway. One day, my father walked into her apartment just in time to see her husband punch her in the mouth in an argument. My father threw him down a flight of stairs. My aunt divorced him in absentia as they never saw him again. Knowing that this guy had been abusive to his sister for a couple years, he said that he had a smile on his face for weeks after that. Eventually, my aunt married a man who treated her like a queen and set her up financially for life by the time he died of a heart attack after 30 years of marriage. I didn't like her third husband, but tolerated him because she loved him. He was one of those, "I'll do you one better" types. If you were one of the astronauts that flew to the moon, he had walked there 10 years earlier and didn't even need a spacesuit. Take what he says with a pound of salt.
I mean, I don't even know if I'd call this revenge. I would call this very justifiably defending your sister. I mean, the father defending his sister, you know? I mean, no, this guy was hitting her. You friggin' put a stop to that. Throw him down some stairs. Yeah, I'm sorry. That is not revenge. There's no pettiness there whatsoever. Good job.
Story 9. One time I was being bullied by an 8th grader when I was in 5th grade. He kept on stealing my food every day, and the teachers never did anything, even though he took it right in front of them sometimes. He would also punch and shove me. Now, the revenge. Turns out we both liked peppers a lot at that age. He loved sweet peppers because I kept hearing him telling his friends that he loved the taste or something. Anyways, my father was a complete firemouth and loved extremely hot peppers. We had ghost pepper sauce in the kitchen. I'm sure you can see what I did to the bully. I put about a spoonful of the ghost pepper sauce in there as I made my lunch for that day. Later on, lunchtime arrived and D-Head and his friends showed up and he grabbed my sandwich. He took a big bite out of it in front of me and started screaming in pain. It was so hilarious to watch as his mouth burnt. I also took the opportunity to get a sucker punch in his face. I ended up getting a stern talking to from the principal, and the bully ended up getting suspended. Never again did he steal my lunches, and he only picks on me for the next few months before going on to another target. Story 10. So in the 4th grade, there was a girl named Lily, and she was a pain in the donkey. She knocked over my desk, made fun of me, and on multiple occasions resorted to physical violence. One day, I had had enough. I did not use physical violence. I'm not that type of person. So when she answered a question correctly, I yelled, "Wow, Lily, you really can do a lot with those 2 brain cells of yours." The whole class burst into laughter and she was peed. I didn't care and she never messed with me again. Best part, I never once got in trouble for it. Story 11. This one kid in the 5th grade was constantly tormenting me. One time we had gym class and it was break time. I told all of my friends in the class who were also being harassed by her to take a signal and do something special. Afterward, I casually waited at the center of the gym knowing that she would strike. She did. As soon as the insults hurled, I turned around, waved my hand, and spouted some deep-pitched gibberish. All of my friends who were also being insulted immediately pretended to be in a sort of possessed state and proceeded to chant some future dark prophecy stuff I can't quite remember. For the rest of the year, she legit thought I was a magical being and that I cursed her. I have no regrets. However, a few years later, we are now decent frenemies. To Evangelos, the Lord of Dark Prophecy.
I mean, revenge, where you convince someone that you're some sort of powerful dark magic wielder. Yeah, I like that one. I like that one a lot. If someone's gonna believe you when you pull something together like that, and it sounds like she deserved it, that's some creative thinking. Didn't resort to any kind of violence, anything like that, just some mental trickery.
Story 12. I made a school bully go homeless after he tormented me physically and emotionally nonstop for 6 years. He came to me one day broke and tried to get money to pay his rent by selling his game collection 10 years later. I offered him $300, which he accepted, and covered half of 1 month's rent, forgetting who I was and how he made my life a living hell. I then flipped his game collection for $11,000. Normally, he would have gotten close to a year's rent selling that collection off, but I made sure he paid dearly. Some would retaliate against their bullies with violence, but that is illegal. What I did was legal and caused far more pain. My bully and his family were evicted due to debt. Happy homelessness.
Oh, no, this one feels a little too harsh for me. I mean, yeah, you didn't do anything illegal. And, sure, the person was just selling them off. You bought them for way cheaper and knew that they were worth more. I'm not even necessarily grossed out by that, but the celebration of, someone and their family becoming homeless, I got a problem with that one. I mean, it does not, in no way condoning the physical and emotional bullying for 6 years. This person sounds pretty scummy, but I can't celebrate someone being made homeless and stuff. I don't know what that bully's home life was like, what they're dealing with. This one's a little tough for me.
Story 13. I had a cousin in foods in high school, cubicle kitchens, awkward but cooperative teammates, etc. Throughout the months of my course, I made friends with the people in my kitchen and we started hanging out. I noticed how the other kitchen bullied this one particular guy because he knew better about cooking and they didn't like it, for it hurt their weak mindset. We accepted him in our kitchen and ever since we've been efficiently doing better than the other kitchen. We started early and we finished early. But whenever we made mistakes, yet it's okay to make one, right, they gloat and mock our kitchen as their oven and pan started scorching their food to ashes. Days later, we still outbest them no matter what. It was so satisfying to stay 2 steps ahead of them. The whole days were just whining and moaning because our new member kept correcting them so hard and making them look dumb as F for deserting their mans. Story 14. So there was a kid in my sophomore year of high school who always messed with me. Let's call him Kyle. He was a verbal bully. Plain and simple. I also got the impression that he profiled me racially and otherwise, but I never confirmed that. Well, there was this fad going around where dudes would kind of catch each other off guard and slap each other in the face. It was usually pretty chill, not hard or anything. Basically, one day I guess I'd had enough of Kyle. Right before class started one day, Kyle was being his bully self while sitting across from me, and I rather impulsively leaned in and said, "Hey, Kyle." And he leans in and starts to say in a condescending way, "Hey, wham." I forward hand slapped that face and at full speed, as much speed as I could get coming up from the tabletop. It didn't have any actual force behind it like a punch would, just a slap that made an incredible sound and stunned him for several seconds, while several other guys into the slapping fad who saw it exploded laughing. The teacher walked in and started class right after it happened, so Kyle had no chance to retaliate right then. I've never seen Kyle look so angry. He elbowed me in the back later in the hallway, which hurt a little, but it was totally worth it. I don't think he even had a lasting red mark or anything. It was a fatal blow to his pride, though. I hope I never have him as a boss, LOL.
So I don't know that I would necessarily encourage something like this. The violence isn't good, but it does remind me of kind of my own story. I had a kind of bully, kind of frenemy in high school. He was one of those kids who was, he was a little bit bigger and way taller than everyone else, and he just kind of bullied everyone as a form of like joking. And I tried to be really tolerant of him for a long time, but he just always pushed things way too far, and I got real sick of it. And so I remember it was the last day of school, sophomore year, I think. And we were in gym class together. And I'm like, last day of school, I'm going to pull something off. Now, back when I was in high school, there was a little thing called junk tag, where guys would say they'd hit each other in the balls and say junk tag. High schoolers are idiots. I typically did not participate, but I decided to pull a little scam on him. None of you are allowed to do this. You don't replicate this. But I went up to him and I'm just like, since it's the last day of school, my mom let me get a tattoo. And he was all like, really? And I'm like, yeah, I got it right here. You want to see? And so I'm not on screen much. I basically go to show him like this. As he leans in to see it, I just wham and junk tagged him, tapped him right in the sack. He crumpled for a few seconds, then pushed me against a wall and was punching me in the stomach. And it hurt, but I couldn't stop laughing. So I guess that's my revenge story for years of putting up with him. He seems like a totally fine guy now. We're friends on Facebook. Don't hit people. Don't hit people in the junk. It wasn't smart, but you know what? I can look back at my past and have a laugh, I guess.
Story 15. Not my revenge, but still good. In 4th grade, we had to walk a 1/4 mile track every morning. They called it the Walk of Wisdom. Once, me and my friends were walking alongside each other, and I saw my older brother ahead of us. He was a total jerk at home. Well, I decided to embarrass him in front of his friends. I told his friends the weird stuff he would do, like eat Play-Doh and that stuff. My older brother decided to swing around and elbow me in the nose. He was 13 and was strong, and with me, the amount of force he put into it, I don't know how he didn't break my nose. Not even a nosebleed, but I was on the ground crying. My best friend decided to kick my older brother as hard as he could in the balls. I left clutching my nose and hugging my best friend. Story 16. When I was in the 8th grade, this kid would always pick on me, doing things like beating me up and knocking my books down, etc. Fast forward 3 years later, I was told by my teacher to tutor a kid who's struggling with academics, and guess who it was? So I helped him by giving him all the wrong answers and then gave him a test. Right before he handed it in to the teacher, I whispered to him, "That's what you get when you bully a genius." Up to this day, I still don't know what grade he got or if he even graduated 8th grade, and frankly, I don't care. Story 17. I was part of a swim team, and I was one of the fastest, which meant I got to lead the lane for obvious reasons. This new kid joins, and he is instantly placed in the back because he's so friggin' slow, but instead of trying to get faster or just accepting the spot, he decided that he would try to bully his way to the top. No, I'm not a masochist, but I can handle a fair amount of pain. Psychologically, I'm a little unstable, and emotionally, I'm very apathetic, which means that I just don't care. After he figured all this, he decided to start picking my little sis, which any guy who has one knows that he just signed his death warrant. My little sis came crying to me because she had worn her hair in pigtails and he tried to tear them off. Not just pulling them, but tearing them off. Thankfully, it wasn't that strong. I went to him to ask him to stop, and he decided that he's just going to sucker punch me in the gut. As I mentioned, I can handle pain really well, so I decided to act hurt and make him come closer and start trying to gloat, because yes, he's that arrogant and stupid. Once he got within range, I grabbed him and kneed him in the crotch. Results? A broken pelvis, left nut damage, peeing blood for weeks, loss of girlfriend, loss of self-esteem, total loss of respect by everyone. He still fears me to this day because I'm now much bigger than him, and when I broke him in every way possible, and it's probably because I'm 6'7" and 250 pounds of muscle. I think that I have Jacob's syndrome.
Oh, dear Lord. Okay, absolutely not okay what this guy did to your sister, but I think as I reiterated in my own story, don't hit people in the crotch. Not at least not that hard. You broke his pelvis and nut damage and pee and blood. That seems like a lot. The person doesn't seem great. The person seems like a real pain in the butt, but Not a pain in the nut? Is that something? Probably not.
Story 18. Found out my now ex-wife was cheating on me with several Tinder guys. One of the times she came to get some of her things, the guy she was hoping it would work out with called while we were loading stuff into her friend's car. Then she breaks down in my living room and said that the guy she really liked and wanted to be with just told her he didn't want to hear from her again, and went on about how much it hurts and blah blah blah. I just looked right at her and said, "It really hurts to know you're not enough, doesn't it?" If those words had hit any harder, they would have left a mark. Story 19. Passive revenge here. My ex-girlfriend in middle school would always break up with me and then get back with me, so one week I was single and another week I was in a relationship with her. I didn't know any better, but I felt lonely, so I just took the opportunity. But at the end of it, she finally decided to fully cut things out between us and decided to date her cousin out of anybody. Nasty. So a few years pass and me and my buddies are chilling near a campfire and chatting here and there while they drink beer. I don't drink, so I just had a Coca-Cola instead. And one of them brought up my ex-girlfriend and basically told me that she eventually got kicked out of her parents' house and she was now homeless and struggling to get a job because she had a criminal record. Ah, sweet karma.
See, here's another one where all I can think is that it sounds like this ex-girlfriend probably had a pretty bad home life and was dealing with some stuff that folks did not know about. And yeah, it sounded like she was kind of a craphead in middle school, though to be fair, a lot of us were crapheads in middle school. I don't like middle school me. But to hear about someone getting, kicked out of their house and being homeless and struggling to get a job because of a criminal record, that's not karma that I would necessarily celebrate.
Story 20. My sweetest revenge was the day when the bully who'd been messing with me for over a year was alone, his friends were sick, and he had to fight me one-on-one. He had no fighting ability. Like, yeah, dumb butt, go ahead and really wind up that punch. Make it obvious so I can dodge and start beating the crap out of you while you're off balance. Real genius. He was helpless. I had him pinned on the ground, head under my foot, but I took it off just so I could replace it with my hand and tell him everything I wanted to say for a year. Next day, his friends came back, and while they were ready to beat me up, the main bully wasn't. He was terrified. He felt that if I could somehow get past his guard dogs, he knew he was next, and there'd be no way he could win that fight.
Please leave your story in the comments. I would love to make a video on them in the future. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe.